I have chosen to celebrate all shapes, all size, all budgets, regardless of brand. I don't care if you've got Triad or Golden Ear or Martin Logan or SVS or Clips or the real high end like Wisdom and different things like that. And listen, I want to celebrate it all. The difficulty in doing the budget friendly ones is typically, and just full transparency, I have been doing home theater tours here on this channel for over 5 years. And honestly, it's probably one of the most rewarding things that I get a chance to do here on this channel. Over the past 5 years, I've traveled locally. I've seen some small home theaters. I've seen some really incredible, massive home theaters. Super budget friendly, mid-tier, as well as just some really top tier, high-end home theaters. With each of those home theaters, they offer a lot of different inspiration, even if it's not within your budget. But every once in a while, I get comments that say something to the effect of, hey, Youthman, I like these bigger home theaters and I like these big elaborate ones, but honestly, I can't really relate to them. I wish you would do more budget-friendly home theater tours. And so I thought I'd take a moment in this video just to kind of share the process of that and why I don't do more budget-friendly home theater tours. Now recently, literally just last week, I posted a super cool, really high character budget-friendly home theater. So if you haven't checked out that video, I'll leave it linked down in the description below, so be sure to check that one out. The process of a home theater tour, when I go and do that, 5 years ago initially, it began with just people I had met on Facebook. And I found out that they were local to me. Maybe they were in Tampa. That's about a 45-minute drive, 30-minute drive, depending on where you are in Tampa. Maybe they're in Orlando, and so that's about another 45-minute drive. Those are totally doable. Those are easy to just load up my gear, load up my lights, load up my camera, tripod, microphones. I can do it all by myself. Don't need to get another camera operator. And so I can drive over there, spend literally, I don't know, 5 or 6 hours at the home, demoing the gear, filming the home theater, and then getting back home, spending the next 2 days editing that video. And so I don't have to spend a lot of time away from my family and so forth. So typically I find out about those either somebody locally on Facebook that says, hey, Youthman, I didn't realize you were in Plant City. I'm over here in wherever. I'm not too far from you. Man, I'd love to invite you over to check out my home theater, maybe do a video on it. And I'm like, dude, let's do it. That would be awesome. That'd be a lot of fun. But the other way that people submit, and I find out about them, is they submit on my website. So hometheatertours.com. I'll just go ahead and share right now. If you've got a cool home theater, you want to submit that, head over to hometheatertours.com. I get the email. It gives me all your information as far as where you're located, the list of equipment and the gear and the speakers and everything, plus some photos of your setup. I don't have any preference over, it's got to be this tier or whatever. I just want it to be clean. I want it to be nice. I want it to be presentable. It doesn't have to be the most expensive. Some people are hesitant to even submit one because they're thinking, man, I see this $1 million Star Wars home theater and I can't compete with that. Guys, it's not about competing. It's about sharing your passion. And I love capturing your story. Each one of us has a story. Each one of us has a journey. Each one of us has things and lessons that we've learned and maybe even regrets on certain things that we did or certain things we wish we would have done in our theater room. And that can truly be a blessing and a benefit to others watching this channel, watching your video, and they can learn from that as they're in the process of building theirs. So I love, truly, if you go back to the beginning of my channel until now, 6 years later, going on 6 years, I have chosen to celebrate all shapes, all size, all budgets, regardless of brand. I don't care if you've got Triad or Golden Ear or Martin Logan or SVS or Clips or the real high end like Wisdom and different things like that. And listen, I want to celebrate it all. The difficulty in doing the budget friendly ones is typically, and just full transparency, Typically, they need to be local. And here's why. Again, if it's local, I can load up, drive there. I can do it all myself. Some of you have reached out to me and said, hey, Michael, I'm over here in Utah. Man, just finished building my theater. I'd love for you to come out and film mine. That would be a super cool trip, amazing trip. It would be great. But the reality is there's just cost involved in that. There's flight, there's travel, there's food. Sometimes I've stayed with people, and so maybe lodging isn't an issue. And even if somebody offered and they said, hey, Michael, I'll pay you to fly out here, or not pay you, but I'll cover your flight. I'll pick you up at the hotel or at the airport, and you can stay at my home. So really there's no cost to you, and that's true. But the other cost of that is just time away from my family, 2 days, 3 days, just depending on the setup there. And so typically, if I receive an inquiry regarding a home theater tour that's out of state, then what I do is I take that list of equipment and who's represented, what brands are represented in your home theater, and I reach out to them. And I say, hey, let's just say you've got a Barco projector. So I'll reach out to Barco and go, hey, Barco, here's a really cool home theater. Here's a list of their gear. Here's their setup. Here's some photos of their setup. I'd love to fly out to Texas to film this. Would you be interested in sponsoring that video to make this possible? And then it's up to the brands, whether or not they feel it's a good fit for their brand, if it's going to be, whatever. The downside of that is typically the sponsored videos are going to be their best home theaters. You know what I'm saying? Because a brand, I mean, let's just face it, it's marketing for them. So they're not looking at sponsoring a video that is like probably their entry level speakers or their entry level subwoofers or whatever. They're looking at, man, what really showcases our products. And typically that just ends up being the higher ones. Prime example, I've got a home theater tour scheduled at the 31st of this month. The person reached out to me. I reached out to some brands. The brand said, man, this is an awesome home theater. And it really is. It's not quite the $1 million Star Wars home theater, but it's another Star Wars themed home theater. And it looks incredible. I'll show you some pictures here. It's going to be awesome. I'm really excited about seeing this and experiencing this. But Wisdom Audio and Storm Audio are sponsoring that video to make it possible. And that allows me to hire another videographer so that it makes a higher quality, better experience, a better video for you guys to enjoy. But again, that's going to be a lot higher tier home theater. And so some of you are going to watch that video and go, man, that's cool, but I may not ever own a Storm Audio processor. I may not ever be able to afford a Trinov or a Christie projector or whatever's represented in the home theater. And that's okay, man. I probably will never own an exotic car. But a friend of mine, he's owned many exotic cars. What I consider it. I don't know if it's exotic, but it's just, these are high-end sports cars. He's owned an R8, brought it over, took me for a ride for that. He has owned a Tesla Plaid. That thing was crazy. It was incredible. Most acceleration I've ever experienced in a sports car. He bought a Ferrari, brought that over. Boom, super fast. Man, I loved it. He just bought a McLaren. Gorgeous car. Phenomenal car. Suicide doors, man. This thing is beautiful. And he took me for a ride in that. Although I personally can't afford to buy one of those vehicles, I can still 100% appreciate each one of those vehicles. I can appreciate the beauty, the style, the fashion, the horsepower, just the performance, even though I probably won't ever own one. And I think sometimes in a home theater, we get caught up in this mindset that we can't appreciate something that's higher end because we're not there yet. And even sometimes people will look at my channel and they go, even just recently, today, had a couple comments, one or two comments. I think one came from yesterday, one from today. And it's kind of the same guy. But his thought is, Michael, you're no longer budget friendly. It's almost like I'm anti-budget, which is insane. Youthman deals. You guys came up with that way back in the day, probably 6 years ago, 7 years ago, 8 years ago when I was in the Clips forum. And you basically coined this phrase, Youthman deals, because that's what I began to find. really, really great deals in the used market. And I still encourage you to do that. Man, if you don't want to buy new, or if you don't have the funds to buy new, look on the used market. Incredible deals out there. Some good buys out there. You can do DIY. I celebrate that as well. Great way to save some money if you're handy. I'm not handy. I can't build squat. If it doesn't involve a computer, a camera, you know, that kind of thing, it's digital, I'm not really handy. But I can do things like that: video editing, graphic design, website development, photography, those types of things. That's where my wheelhouse is. But I think all of us can have a cool home theater, but man, let's learn to celebrate it all. You know, when you see the simple, budget friendly, and somebody posted on Facebook, don't criticize them and tell them how they should have done it. Sometimes they're limited on funds. Now, if they ask and they're like, hey guys, here's my layout, what can I do to improve it? Well, I notice your center channel is really on the floor. If you can elevate that or at least angle it up, man, you'd get so much better of a sound. Or maybe their center channel is way above their TV and it's firing straight, and you can say, hey, if you can angle that down towards your listening position, you'll get a much better experience. Those things are great, but man, just don't come in negative Nancy and just dog them. You got those cheap clip speakers, or man, Sony's never made any good speakers. You need to trash those and get this. And let's celebrate everybody, man. Let's be the community that builds each other up instead of tears each other down. But the reality, we're back to kind of the focus of this video. I would love to do any home theater tour, even internationally. But again, internationally, that's a lot bigger expense. So that's definitely going to have a sponsor. But if you're local, somewhere in Florida, even if I've got to travel, maybe I can line up a couple of them. Let's say they're down in South Florida. You know, maybe I'll have to grab a hotel, you know, for one night and film a couple of them in a day or whatever. I'd love to do that. So reach out to me, hometheatertours.com. I just wanted to make this video because I just wanted to share, yes, I have not changed. I am passionate about home theater. I love celebrating the big, the small, the ones that are simple, the ones that are extravagant. I want to experience it all, and I want to share them all with you guys. I'm currently working on several more reviews here on the channel, so if you're not subscribed, be sure that you are. And as always, hope you guys have an incredible day. God bless, and we will catch you in the next video.